suck in another breath corrupted with the stench of burned human flesh. He looked past the driver to the way station corral. The horses were gone. They might have kicked open the gate and run off when the fire started. If he were a gambling man, he would place every cent he had on outlaws stealing the horses. This is what Rhodes and his cutthroats would do. The senseless killing and arson were trademarks of the baby-faced, always smiling Raleigh Rhodes and the road agents that he called his family. No pack of rabid dogs matched their ferocity. Especially Rhodes's right-hand man, Crazy Water Benedict. Luke's fingers curled around the butt of his six-gun so hard the muscles in his forearm protested. He forced himself to relax. That's about what I thought. The driver stepped close enough to bump chests. The reek of sweat and horses and trail dust rising from the driver almost overpowered Luke. It was still better than the smell of death. "You're not one of them," the driver said forcefully. "My boss made sure I seen the wanted posters on each and every one of those varmints. You a lawman? You don't have the look of one, but—" He squinted at Luke, sizing him up. Luke had encountered this attitude before and had prepared for it. He silently reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a stained piece of latigo with a battered tin star pinned to it. The driver squinted and reached out to run his finger over the embossed letters, then looked up. He nodded curtly. "Wondered when the Pinkertons would be hired to catch Rhodes. That owl hoot don't much care who he steals from." The driver looked over his shoulder at the burned station. "Or who he kills." He wiped his lips and turned to the stage. "Got to comfort the passengers. They took it well enough when I told them they wouldn't get no whiskey here, but then one's a peddler and the other's a gambler from the look of his hands. No telling how they will react." "You don't care if I sift through the ashes?" "Go on. If your Christian charity moves you, go on and bury them, too. What remains of them." The driver heaved a deep sigh and wiped his mouth again with his filthy sleeve. "The Tomlinsons been married for 10 years and ran the way station for the past 8. "Anyone else?" "You mean, did they have young'uns?" "No, thank the lucky stars. For them that was a continuing sorrow, but now it's a blessing. They had a stable hand, but he left a month back to marry the Willem girl. Ugly as sin, that one. The girl, not the hand. Don't know what he saw in her, but then I don't even recollect his name. That might have something to do with it. She noticed him and nobody else did." The driver shook his head and opened the stagecoach door. He pushed one man back in and started his spiel to keep the 2 passengers calm and in the coach. Luke returned the tin star to his pocket, wiped sweaty palms on his pants legs, and stepped carefully over some still-smoking timbers. The way station had been a fair size. From the way bits and pieces of the roof scattered around, there must have been an explosion. Raleigh Rhodes had been a border ruffian before the war, and enjoyed blowing up buildings and bridges just to watch the blast. It wasn't much of a stretch to think of him planting dynamite and setting it off just to watch the destruction and hear the shrieks of the poor souls inside drowned out by the loud boom and rush of flames. As he stepped on a plank, a sickening sound made Luke recoil. He kicked aside the board to reveal a man's charred body. It must have been Mr. Tomlinson. Luke tried the best he could to roll the corpse into a singed blanket, but the cloth fell apart. A tarp pulled from under a box proved sturdier. He continued his distasteful task and dragged the station-master to a grassy area a few yards from the ruins. He returned to his heartbreaking hunt. His gorge rose when he found a woman's body, not 5 feet from where he'd found the man's corpse. "That there's Miss Tomlinson," the driver called from his position in front of the stagecoach team. He kept the horses calm in spite of the burned smells. "I never saw her when she wasn't wearing that dress. Ugly pattern, but she was partial to it." Luke saw that the 2 passengers had exited the stagecoach and pointedly looked away across the Kansas prairie. Just because they didn't look didn't mean death and destruction hadn't occurred. Perpetrated by Raleigh Rhodes. Since no one offered to help, he removed her from the ruins. He laid the woman's body alongside her husband and dug graves. His arms ached, and his heart broke for the couple by the time he dropped the last spade of dirt onto the mounds. Luke said a silent prayer over the graves. That was all he could do for them, and he hoped it was enough. Bringing in the gang who had murdered them was little enough justice. Luke added the Tomlinsons to the list of reasons for stopping Rhodes and Crazy Water Benedict and all the rest. The dead couple's spot on that list.